you suppose that there's a place down south that's frozen in ice and penguins need protection? Antarctica. Antarctica? No, that pop like two people with that. Antarctica is always a weird kind of proposition. Because, I don't think it's obviously not what they're telling us it is, and it hasn't ever been. There's the Antarctic Treaty that was signed, I think in the early 1900s, in which every country on Earth said no one can go to Antarctica because the penguins there don't need to be disturbed. Okay, sounds good. Can't take a dinghy down there. You will fill the boat with lead if I get near the place. There's fucking pretty important penguins. There was this thing on social media, Twitter, in fact, a couple years ago. Well, a couple years now. It's like 5 years, where John Glenn, or was it which one was it? I don't really care. Those guys didn't do anything to me except lie to the fucking American people. But and I don't even know if I care about that, because who the fuck are the American people now? You know what I mean? Like, what is this place? It's a melting pot. It's give us your cold, you're tired, you're who would make those things part of a nation? Like who would put that messaging in front of their nation? Your enemy would do that. But anyway, they were all going down there. All these highfalutin mucky muck people, politicians. John Kerry was filmed getting off a helicopter down there. They're always traveling down there, you know. And if there's nothing there but penguins, then what the fuck are they doing there? But there's not. There's more than penguins there. And I'm just gonna call him John Glenn. I don't care if that's his name. It's not John Glenn though. It's the other kooky looking guy with the googly eyes. Anyway, he put this. This was posted on his Twitter when he came back from there, and he was. I think this is when he was actually in the hospital, or right after he was. Right after this, he was hospitalized. You can't put this on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. Not like I fuck Facebook anyway. But I mean, Instagram's just as bad. But the point is, you can't put this image out there, or else it immediately gets taken down. Not even as misinformation. They just take down your post, like as if it was like hate speech or whatever. Which just makes me think, right? Yeah, this was 100% real. Now all the glowy sites like Snopes, who was a guy and a cat and a woman. Actually, they got divorced. He was cheating on her with some kind of hooker or something, and they had to oust him from Snopes. But that's all it was. The CIA, I guess they don't like to spend money unless they get a big pop out of it, you know. So yeah, this is pretty interesting. He's saying it's ultimate evil, and he's showing a picture of one of the pyramids down there. And there are pyramids down there. There's a bunch of shit down there. And it's not, I don't believe it's a continent. I believe it's the outer rim of our area, in the sort of, in the fishbowl kind of thing. And one of which we are probably a lot of different fishbowls. That's my muffin pan theory. It's pretty sound. If you never heard it, you should look into it. But yeah, he put this out, and it was immediately taken down, debunked, and they did this big fucking song and dance about how, at first the story was he's ill, so he's not in his right mind, and then the second story was he's got the account hacked, and then because I see all this stuff happen in real time, you know, and the final thing was it didn't happen. No one's talking about it. We're not going to talk about it. Don't ask us about it. And that was it. And now whenever you put it anywhere, it gets taken down. A guy, this is a good source. A guy on X. That's my source. There's a guy came on X like I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I remember I was reading it when I was, well, maybe it had to be longer than that because I first was reading this when I was in Massachusetts still. So it's probably like 10 years ago now. And he had a friend of his that him and his family were in the Masons. And he knew him since childhood. The guy, the Anon himself, was not a Mason, but they were good friends. They grew up in the same area, yada, yada, yada. Occasionally when he'd come back to visit town, hometown, he would go out, have a few drinks with them. He'd always try to get like information out of them, or he'd tell them weird stories. But he said one time he got really drunk, really fucked up, and started telling them about what he had been doing down in Antarctica. Him and his dad were working down there, and there was like the equivalent of like a construction kind of project going on down there, where there was like a lot of people with backhoes, and you know, they were digging. You know, they were digging out. He said they had found some kind of city or some kind of living area where they would go in. It was like almost like an underground facility. And as they were moving through this underground facility, they would run into traps, like you know, booby traps, like fucking Indiana Jones style, were set up all in this place. And he goes on to talk about some of them. But the weird thing that popped out the most, well, a few things. He said there's these big thrones with these big, like giant, they look like statues, he said, but they look more like frozen people than statues. Glancing at them, he said they look like statues, right? But he says they look more like frozen people. And as they would venture further into this area of interconnected tunnels and like a underground city system, people were getting killed by these booby traps. And before I talk about the most significant thing, there was this one thing where this guy found these bottles, and they had all this like liquid in them. And for whatever reason, the idiot guy, they had these contractors, he said, that worked for them, that weren't Masons and weren't part of their crew. They were just like mercenaries. So they would hire these guys to come in and help with the cataloging of the stuff they would find, and to help dig out things. And these guys were the ones that would get killed. You know, because they'd always be like, hey, there's another hallway down there. Why don't you guys check it out? I'm sure they did something like that. Or maybe that was part of their contract to go do this kind of stuff. So anyway, this guy finds these bottles, and he wants to smell it, right? So he opens it up, and he smells it, and he said he just started like convulsing and acting really strange, like his body was convulsing up. And he said he ran off down one of the halls, and they never saw him again. That was pretty creepy. Another thing, though, the main thing is they found this chamber, this area that had this kind of machine. Is all the only way he could describe it. And along the floor were these plates. Like he said, they almost looked like stained glass plates. He couldn't tell what they were made of. There was some kind of thing that looked like stained glass, I guess. And a lot of them were broken and on the ground. And what they kind of figured out is these plates would go into this machine and would do something. The interesting thing about the plates, though, is he said they all had these painted scenes on it that he says were the things that were on the Illuminati card game. He says, like photos of future events, or some things that had happened, some things that hadn't happened. They were all on these plates. And the area where it was looked like it was abandoned, like they used to use it. And he said it was almost like they would take these plates and put them in this thing to make whatever it was happen. So he wasn't, I don't know how clear he was about it, but he said, I don't know if they used those images, because they cataloged them all, photographed them all, and kept them all. I don't know if those are the exact images that were used on the game, the Steve Jackson card game, of which I remember distributing that. I was working at Diamond Comic Distributors at the time. I remember when those came in, and this was 1994 when we got those in. And, you know, they didn't sell super well, but we had like a few cases of them. I remember looking through them with a friend of mine who, he grabbed a couple sets for himself. I'm sure they're worth some money now because, you know, they become so notorious in conspiracy circles. But, yeah, the idea was they were somehow manipulating or creating events with this machine, and all the world events were on these plates, some of which were broken. So they collected all the artwork from them, they photographed them all. I don't know if it's the exact images from them, or if they're a version of the images, or they were you know, repurposed or repainted or remade. But supposedly that's where those came from, plates on this thing. So it's just a weird idea. It's just one of the many things that is weird about that place. I've heard a lot of stories about that place throughout the years. You know, a lot of anonymous X-posts. I shouldn't say a lot. I make it sound like there's a lot of stuff. But, like, I remember quite a few of them throughout the years. It always goes back to there's digging going on. You know, they're digging into some kind of city. Now there's a theory that that's where Satan is. He's supposed to be chained up down there, frozen in ice. And when these weirdos go down there, he can't get out. I guess he's still like trapped there. I guess when these weirdos go down there, they're kind of consulting him, or that's the idea, or some sort of version of him. And then the other idea is that he's not even like a guy. He's like a he's like a, I forget how they described it, but he's not in human form, but it's Satan. It's some kind of I don't know, energy source or some kind of thing that they talk to, where they can talk to him through. It's not like a body. I don't know. It's pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, I was just thinking of it because I was cleaning out some of my folders and I found these old images. I'm like, it's too bad I can't show them anywhere. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Yes, I can. I noticed, right? And I don't know if I should even bring this up, but here on YouTube, when I make a video, I could put anything I want into these videos, any images I want. A lot of stuff I do put up here is stuff that I've gotten like taken down on Instagram for. A lot of images that they claim are disinformation or whatever. I can put them up here and I don't have any problem. I think whatever algorithm that monitors these videos, I think they're primarily audio based. I don't know if they watch through them. I mean, I don't know how that works. I know it's not really people doing it. I know sometimes people can review it. And I know it's mostly done through automation, you know. And that's why a lot of times it's so retarded, like when they ban you or things they say you're banned for. And then they always say, would you like to appeal? And even the appeal is fucked up, because it's like implied in the appeal is that you want them to reinstate the video. I never care about that. I just want to know what it was exactly that got them to take it down. But they don't tell you that because they have to keep, I think I was saying this today, they have to keep that vague so that they can drop that hammer anytime and you can't say no, or you can't prepare for it. They're sneaky like that. Satan, sneaky. I'm gonna go in. This is nice and cold out here. It's cold and windy. I love this kind of weather. I see people a lot more when you walk down in town. They're a lot more dressed up. I don't think they're used to this kind of cold. We do get this a couple times, usually in the winter time here. We'll get a couple like nights like this, but it's been kind of like this for a while. A lot of rain too. There's been rain, cold weather. It's great for sleeping at night. It helps a lot, man. It helps a lot. A lot of times the reason I can't sleep here is because it gets so damn hot. And we can't have AC in my apartment because of the way the windows are. We could get one of those portable ones, but it's so small it would freeze the place. I'd have like fucking Rocky in there boxing in 10 minutes if we had one of those portable ones. Could freeze the room in 2 seconds. None of this is your problem though. These are my problems, which I may or may not correct. In the meantime, don't blame the teacher, blame the school.